So I thought I'd ask an expert, someone who's been closely following the various movements to call an Article 5 convention.
Virginia Kase Solomón is the CEO of Common Cause, a nonpartisan organization that's working to make government more accountable to us. There have been previous efforts to call an Article 5 convention for things like abortion rights or even busing. Why do you think those previous efforts failed?
I think because there wasn't an overall enthusiasm or desire by people when there's another way to fix things through the constitutional amendment process rather than having an all-out constitutional convention.
So because the Constitution doesn't say anything about how this process would go, what would happen? Who would set the rules? How would everything unfold?
Well, that's the problem. We don't know. The framers just decided at some point, like, we're tired, we're not gonna get to this. So nobody really knows, and that's what's scary about it. And that's why a lot of people are just saying, we can't do this because there are no parameters around it. So it's just, what is the limit?
Let's say a convention gets called for a specific purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
A balanced budget amendment or term limits. You're saying that a convention wouldn't necessarily have to stick to those things, those original purposes for calling it. It could just cover whatever it wanted?
Yeah, pretty much. That's the scary part, is that you can go in with one intent and come out with a completely different result. The biggest issue with a constitutional convention is that it can just go rogue.
28 states have already called in some form for a convention, and you need 34.
Yes.
So how likely is this to happen at some point, and when?
It is likely that it could happen, and we've been working really hard to defeat it, most recently in Connecticut. Also Montana, for example, just shot it down for exactly that reason, because people don't know. But we are still just a few states away from calling for the convention. The reality is that our political climate is a lot different than it was back in the 1700s when this last happened. And there's a lot of influence that comes disproportionately from corporations and political figures that could influence the process, where the people's voice actually gets lost in this whole thing.
What do you think the motives are for having one?
An amendment process to the Constitution just is a really lengthy process. It takes a lot of time. There are a lot of hoops and barrels, but that's actually a good thing because it forces us to think really clearly about a singular issue. And that's another reason why we're opposed, because at the end of the day, there is an amendment process that would require a lot of care and thought and engagement from the public.